Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Strategy Show. Thursday, 6-gamer for the main, 2-gamer for the early. I don't know if you guys actually want to talk about the early slate. If we do, here's what I would say. If we want to do the early slate, we're going to do it really, really quickly, right? And that's not, I'm playing it because I'm actually not going to be playing the main slate tonight. I'm taking, my family and I are going to the carnival in town with a bunch of these rickety death traps, but we're going anyway, and hopefully we come back alive. But we're going there at 6 o'clock, and I would actually, that's, you know what, I may be able to play. I think the last game is 7:45. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. I should be able to play tonight. That's pretty sweet. There's no 9 o'clock games. There's no 10 o'clock games. So we shouldn't have to worry about lineups coming in. We're actually 6:40 through 7:45 is the start time. Nice. Got to ride. Dude, I'll ride any of those rides. It isn't to say I enjoy them, but I'll do it. But my kids are too small to go on any of that stuff anyway. Like 5 and 2.5, they won't let them on there. When they're old enough, I certainly will. But. Yeah, not today. It is true, Sotex. They're all rickety death traps. Like, if you look at those rides, what are they bringing them up from like Arkansas and assembling them there, and you see the bolts are loose and stuff. I don't know, man. I get a bad feeling about it, but we'll go anyway. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, well, it's fun, man. They do, like, I'm in upper Bucks County in Pennsylvania, and they do a lot of these in all the neighboring towns. So like they'll have one in mine and then one next in the town right over, and then the one right over from us on the other side. So throughout the summer you go to them. My girls and their cousins and stuff get to have fun and enjoy themselves. And I'll eat some bad food and we'll have a good day. And I'll try some of the carnival games and give them my money. I swear the game where you see how fast you can throw a baseball, I swear that's rigged. It has to be. Look, I'm not saying I'm out there throwing Mizorowski velocity, but the one time I did it, I was quite embarrassed. And I swear, man, that thing's not calibrated. I'll go to the grave saying those aren't calibrated. No chance. No chance. I didn't even want to win anything. I just wanted to see how fast I could throw. And I was like, man, you got to give me something. But anyway, let's get into this. Do you guys want to spend a minute or two on the early slate or no? If you want to spend a minute or two on the early slate, a few minutes, I'm happy to do it. It's 2 games. It's not 3 games. But if you want to, we can do it. Hey, Obi-Wan, good to see you, brother. If you want to do it, we can do it. We can do it right now. And then anybody tuning in after the fact for the main slate, I'll get you covered there as well. Malcolm, playing DFS on a daily basis is a lot like playing a rigged carnival game. No, I actually, funny enough, dude, I had this long Twitter thread that compared the sports books to a carnival game because, like, the basket toss where there's actually a way to win it. If you were to watch the carny throw the ball into the basket toss, he's going to make it every time. Put a little bit of backspin, you put it right at the top of the lip and it'll fall down, but everybody else tries and it just bounces right out. That's the sports books, because the sports books know all the secrets and all the back doors. And if you figure them out yourselves, you're going to beat them. But the same thing as a carnival game. If you keep winning at the carnival game, they're going to tell you they don't want your business anymore. So I've used that example many times. Sports books are the carnival games. They're the carnies, not DFS. DFS, you're playing against other people. We're all playing against each other. DFS is the opposite. You know what I mean? It's a meritocracy in DFS. But yeah, we'll touch on the early slate first. Let's do it. I'm playing it. Why not? And we'll see. We'll see what we got going. It's not the best slate. It's 2 games, but whatever. Does it matter? Do we care? Because if we don't care, then we'll do it anyway. So, all right, ready? So here's what I've got going for you. And as always, if you don't mind, take a second this fine morning, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And if you're listening in podcast, rating, review, X, Twitter, repost, whatever. I don't have to say it every show. You guys know the drill. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's do it. So early slate, right? Pull up the data hub. and then I'll get into the exposure. I actually ran the Sims for the early and for the main. There's actually not that much to get into here. Right now, my exposures, I can tell you this much. I'm getting a ton of Bubba Chandler against Seattle, and I'm getting a lot of Bryce Miller. Remember we talked about Bryce Miller the other day, and I was super tempted to roster him. Ended up getting away from it, but just because he's been like one of the best pitchers in the league, it was very tempting. It's kind of crazy because, he went on to go 21 DraftKings points, 5 innings, 3 hits, no walks, and 1 run on a solo shot, 7 strikeouts. They really did pull him at 66 pitches. They did. They pulled him at 66 pitches for that game. And then what happened after that? Anybody want to guess? Anybody remember what happened after they pulled Bryce Miller with 66 pitches and 3 hits with no walks and 7 strikeouts? Anyone remember what happened? Luis Castillo came in and promptly gave up 5 runs in 4 innings pitched. I mean, you can't make it up. If there's one thing that's happening in Major League Baseball this year that's inexplicable, that makes no sense, and not inexplicable in the sense like, man, I just can't, like that's so far removed from being able to comprehend it because it's like just out there. No, I mean because it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you bring Bryce Miller? Why? Just so you can be like, oh, well, we got Castillo his innings. It makes no sense. He's been terrible this year. Bryce Miller's been one of the best pitchers in the league since he came off the IL. And they're like, nah, let's let Castillo. Miller's thrown 66 pitches. They simply cannot hit him. But let's do what we can to make sure that this is all for naught. Ridiculous. Anyway, he's on the slate today, and he looks really good. He's $8,500. I would argue that he's still too cheap with how well he's pitched. He's just been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I don't know if they're going to have. I don't know. I would assume that Bryce Miller goes out there and throws like 90 pitches, something like that today. That would make sense. I don't see this being one of these spots where, he's going to have to be contending with Luis Castillo behind him. That doesn't make any sense. I haven't seen anything about it. He has a 5.5K prop today. His outs prop, dude, if his outs prop like 13.5, I'm going to be pissed off. No, 17.5. All right, good. Juice to the, we have nothing to worry about there. I mean, he could still suck, but we have nothing to worry about in terms of Bryce Miller not being the guy that we want to get to. I mean, it's him, honestly, and then Bubba Chandler because he's $6,500 going up against Seattle. This is at PNC Park. It might not be T-Mobile, but it's still a great park for pitchers. I mean, kind of everything about this points towards Bubba Chandler being a good play. When I ran the Sims a few minutes before this show started, I was getting to 95% Bubba Chandler before I added 3 uniques. And when I did that, I was still getting 85%. It's scary. No doubt about it. It's scary. But this is where we are. So, yeah, Bubba Chandler is going to be somebody that we get a decent amount of today. It is what it is, man. Cal Raleigh, also, he's been back for what, like 10 days now, a week now. So they're pretty healthy. But yeah, Bubba Chandler and Miller from that same game both look pretty good. If you were to look at like the top stacks here and look at the team totals, Seattle has the highest at 4.8, but Tampa's at 4.4, Kansas City's at 4, Pittsburgh's at 3.9. My guess is that some of this just has to do with Chandler's K prop. 15.5 outs. Like, that's not great. He's 6,500. His K prop, 4.5 juice to the over. I mean, I guess that's okay. It's not great. Look at both of these games. 3.5 for Seth Lugo. 4.5 juice to the under, depending on where you're looking. Miller's at 5.5. Chandler's at 4.5. Ian Seymour doesn't have one outside of Prize Picks. He's at, 5 there. But here's our exposures for the early slate. And you'll see what I'm talking about. You got Bryce Miller, 55%. This is me running 3 uniques, by the way. Bubba Chandler, 84%. Seymour, 33%. Seth Lugo, 28%. And then if you look at our stack exposures, Tampa, we're getting a lot of Tampa, a lot of Kansas City. That game specifically, I'm not necessarily sure why it's grading out so much better, outside of the fact that we're just getting so much Miller and so much Chandler that you can't really get to much of the stacks from that game without stacking against the pitcher. It's at the Trop. It's not at Kauffman Stadium. You don't have to worry about any weather. Meanwhile, it's 82 degrees in Pittsburgh, winds blowing to left at 11 miles per hour. Both games have an 8.5 run total. So I guess pick your poison here, you know? I'm not really sure what else there is to be said about this. Yeah, I mean, Sotex, look, if there's no reason that Miller should be limited at all. I also just think it's like, if you're trying to lose games, then yeah, you can work in tandem with these guys. You know what it is? I think coaches or managers get an idea in their head, and then no matter the circumstances, they're like, well, I said I was going to do this, so I have to do this. Like whether or not it's idiotic or not. And in that case, like 66 pitches for the guy. You're not going to let him go one more inning. He'd still probably be under 80 pitches through 6 innings. Right? Like three total base runners through 5 innings. Doesn't make any sense. Look at our individual bats too. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on the early slate, but we are playing it. And also keep in mind, this is a 12:10 Eastern start. Is that right, Larry? They had the pitching staff vote on this whole thing? Really? I bet they would have voted differently. I bet Bryce Miller would have voted differently if he knew it was Luis Castillo who was behind him every single time. If they're like, yeah, it's going to be you, Bryce, and then we got Logan Gilbert coming in behind you. All right, that sounds good. But I mean, talk about drawing the short straw with Luis Castillo. Individual bats here. Salvador Perez, Carter Jensen, again, both from the same team. Cal Raleigh, 19%. Yandy Diaz, 52%. Jack Caglione, 39%. 37%, Jonathan Aranda. Fred Lowe, 41%. Nick Lofton, 25%. Says Pittsburgh, Kansas City. Caminero, 53%. Yandy Diaz, 52%. Let's hope that game pops off, huh? Tyler Tolbert, 37%. Taylor Walls, Tampa. Look, same game. We're still getting some of Pittsburgh and Seattle, just not nearly as much as these other two teams. Chandler Simpson, Caglione, Tyler Tolbert, Lance Thomas. Yeah, a lot of Tampa, a lot of Kansas City. That's just the way it is right now. And for those of you guys who missed pitching earlier, Chandler and Bryce Miller. And obviously, too, like there's a lot of slates that we don't cover here on the show. Keep in mind that when I talk about the Sims tools, these Sims tools are, and all of the tools for that matter, the single lineup sim, post-contest sims, all of that stuff. The late swap tool, which was super helpful for me yesterday, super helpful when we got that Angels and Orioles lineup. That made things easier. Literally just plug your file in from DraftKings and it'll rebuild all of your lineups and make every necessary adjustment without you having to touch a thing. It's huge. MLB Strategy, 15% off. Links down below in the description. If you're watching on X, just go to stochastic.com. Pick any package you want, weekly, monthly, core, max, or all access. And just when you check out, type in MLB Strategy and it'll take 15% off all of that. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind because when you have these slates, today just early in Maine, but usually you have early, afternoon, Maine, turbo, night slate. You can run the Sims for all of those. And I'd like to think there's a massive advantage, especially for some of those more niche slates, right? I'm going to start playing them more. But anyway, that's the best way to do it. 15% off any subscription, MLB Strategy. And if you ever have questions, hit me up, join the Discord, all that good stuff. All right, you guys ready to talk about this main slate? Probably a good time, right? Probably a good time. How hard did I throw the ball? It was like 64 or something, 65. It's not accurate. Can't be. Because that was unimpressive. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think I was going to go out there ripping 85, but I thought I could get like, I don't know, high 60s. It's rigged. And I stand by that. All right. But it cannot be. That's not right. All right. Let's take a look at the main slate. So pitching is actually pretty sick for the main slate. I don't know if you guys have looked at it yet. Let me see where I'm at. 15. Can you guys remember this? 15:35. I got to timestamp this. Jenna, yes, that was the knuckleball. Yeah, that was my ephus, right? You ever watched when they have position players come in and every pitch, just because they have like the automatic pitch identification, and every pitch is just the ephus, every single one when they're lobbing it across the plate. It's also so funny how difficult it is for MLB hitters to hit those in a real game. A lot of times it's just soft flyouts and stuff. They can't wrap their head around it. They're seeing 100, high 90s all day, and this guy just comes in throwing batting practice and they can't hit it. And they're trying too. Anyway, let me start with this. First, Cam Schlittler looks like the best pitcher on the slate. He's 10,500, which to me is just still a very good price point. You have a Boston team that is dead last in WRC plus against righties. They're 29th in WOBA. They're 28th in ISO. I mean, from top to bottom, this is just a really good spot. And on the other side, I talk about this in the perfect lineup that should be up already. Check it out after this is done. Of course, you can always grab a free week of The Sims by just guessing something right. And it's a fun video. I think you'll love it if you haven't watched it yet. It's right here on the channel. It's like 9-10 minutes long. Quick little bite-sized piece of content for you. Schlittler's top 5 among qualified pitchers in strikeout rate, and he has the 5th lowest walk rate among all qualified pitchers. He really has been that good. And Boston's been that bad. You're talking about a 6.5K prop, 17.5 outs prop for Schlittler. You look at where he is in the data hub today, and this is kind of wild, right? Like, he has the highest projected fantasy points, yet he's $1,000 cheaper than Christopher Sanchez. He has the highest top 2 pitcher probability, better value score than Sanchez as well. I just really do. I do like Schlittler a lot today in this matchup. Take this for what it's worth. He's also been really good away from home. I mean, away from Yankee Stadium. Not that you even need that today because everything else just looks so good, but Schlittler's been really good outside of Yankee Stadium. Like real good. 26% K minus BB rate, which is pretty nuts. Sotex, first run for the other side on FanDuel costs 50 lines. I'm getting no Miller. This is going to be, oh man. Trust the Sims, baby. But Sanchez, I got to tell you, I don't hate getting less Christopher Sanchez today. I have not looked at our exposures since I recently ran this. We got an update about an hour ago. I have not looked at it, but I don't think we're going to get that much Sanchez based on where the pricing is for some of these other pitchers. It is not that Sanchez is not a phenomenal pitcher. He is, right? He's a purely dominant pitcher. But 11.5 today is a lot. You're paying more than $1,000 additional on that Cam Schlittler price point. Kevin Gausman. Look, Kevin Gausman's been nowhere as impressive as Sanchez or Cam Schlittler. But he's also $8,500 in a favorable matchup. Remember we talked about it the other day? We were all kind of blown away by the fact that the Rangers have the highest WRC plus in the league against right-handed pitching, which just like makes no sense. But they're middle of the league against righties, right? They're 14th against righties. They're 15th in WOBA. They haven't had much power against righties. They're 24th. 21.6% strikeout rate is 15th. 7.5% walk rate is 24th. They're like average to below average against righties. I don't love Kevin Gausman today, but I don't hate him either. He's been much more impressive at home this season. Well over a strikeout per 9. $8,500. I would be curious to see too what the team totals are for some of these squads tonight. Like Boston against Schlittler's 3.5. Texas though 3.8 against Gossman. Washington 3.9 against Sanchez. All three of those, and the only trio below 4.4. Mackenzie Gore in a really tough strikeout spot. Matt Boyd, I mean, the Mets stink, but you have Matt Boyd. Connolly early looks okay. My boy Tatsuya Imai, we talked about him, and on Friday, there was some trepidation. I understand it. But he ended up going out there, 11 strikeouts, 30 DraftKings points, and his salary's come up $300. And now he's facing a team with the fourth highest strikeout rate in baseball. So, I mean, I think you have to consider Imai today. Look where he ranks as far as value goes. Look at this. I'll show you. Ready? Value, Imai, number 1. And then number 6 in fantasy point projection, tied for 5th in top 2 pitcher probability. So, I mean, I actually think he looks pretty good today. We can pull it on up here and see what we've got going on for top pitchers in the exposures today. Let me see. Am I running uniques here? No uniques. So, all right, look. Schlittler and Gossman and Imai, we're getting 44+% of all of those guys. I don't think it's all that crazy, to be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, Schlittler, the only thing I'm surprised is we're not getting more of him, honestly. I would have thought we're getting more Cam Schlittler today than we are. If you told me we were getting 75% of him, I'd have said, okay, that makes some sense. Kevin Gossman, let's see what his K-prop is. This will tell us a lot. I mean, it might honestly be 6.5. It honestly might be 6.5. 1, 2, 3. All right, I wanted to make sure I had all these games selected. Yep, here you go. So, Gossman, K-prop. Yeah, 6.5 in some spots, 5.5 in others. 5.5 heavily juiced to the over. Nah, but it's 6.5 on Bet Online. 5.5, it's -154, -155. So, I mean, if I were to go into the alt lines here and see what Kevin Gossman's 6.5 prop is, yeah, 6.5 plus 130, plus 124, plus 116 on Bet Online. I mean, that's a really nice number right there, especially when you consider that, like, Christopher Sanchez is 6.5 plus 102 plus 105, very similar. Cam Schlittler, 6.5 minus 102. So they're all very similar. Now, the one thing that you have to keep in mind about Sanchez is that Sanchez and Gossman are very different in the sense that Gossman can just go out there and get blown up. Last start's a perfect example. He had -10 DraftKings points. He was awful. Truly, truly terrible. He got through 2 innings, 7 hits, 4 walks, 7 earned. It was an awful, awful start. He got pulled before he ever got to 70 pitches. And that happens with him. Whereas with a guy like Sanchez, he's had literally, I kid you not, he's had 1 bad start in the last 2 calendar months. And by bad start, he went 5 2/3. He gave up 4 runs. That's in his last 11 starts. He literally went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight starts without giving up a single run. Went 8 innings, 9 innings, 7 innings, 8 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings. Last start, kind of atypical. Only went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned on a solo shot with 5 strikeouts. So that's what's different about Sanchez. But at 11.5, I would rather get to Schlittler, and honestly, I would rather get to Gossman. Take that for what it's worth. But the difference now is that Christopher Sanchez actually is getting a lot of ownership. We have him as the highest projected owned pitcher on the slate. And I'm not sure he should be. I love Sanchez, right? I'm a Phillies fan. But at 11.5, I do think I'd probably look towards Schlittler at a $1,000 discount in, by the way, a better matchup. It is objectively a much better matchup. I'm not saying Washington's a juggernaut offensively, but against lefties, they're okay. They're not terrible. You know, they have some power. They're not that bad. There's a lot worse out there. So there's that. Like Washington on the season is what? Against lefties? Where are they? Like they're up there. For some reason, it's not loading for me, but they honestly have not been bad against lefties at all. So take it for whatever that's worth. I do think Gossman, if you're talking 5.5, 6.5K prop at 8,500, you just have to bite the bullet there, especially on a 6-game slate. Some other guys I want to talk about though, Tatsuya Imai. Can we dig into this one? Let's do it. And yeah, Clayton, so did I. 49% Cam Schlittler and 8% Sanchez. Right? Obi-Wan says, Amai looks interesting. Amai looks really interesting, dude. Really interesting. For a litany of reasons. I mean, I'll tell you one reason why I think he looks interesting. If you look at Tatsuya Amai, there are some things that are a little bit concerning. He's probably going to face 6 lefties today. He has been much better against righties than he's been against lefties. That's just a fact, okay? 24% K rate against lefties, 30% against righties. But the other thing is, the Tigers have 4 guys today in the projected starting lineup with 26% or higher K rates against righties, 2 of them at 30+%. There are strikeouts in this lineup. The Tigers have the 4th highest K rate in the league against righties. And then you look at a guy in Tatsuya Imai. Has he been inconsistent? Yeah, but he also hasn't been terrible. And when you think about it, you go back and you look at the starts he's made this season. He had some really bad starts early in the year, and then he went on the IL for like a month, right? Remember, it was like arm or shoulder fatigue or something. And then he came back. Since coming back, he hasn't even been bad. He had one really bad start against Kansas City. Aside from that, he's been fine. 6 innings, 3 earned, 11 strikeouts. We rostered a ton of him last week with that start. 5 innings, 2 earned, 8 strikeouts, and that was against the Athletics. Against Milwaukee, 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 earned. That's good in a tough matchup. Against Texas, only 2 strikeouts, but 6 scoreless no-hit innings. So do you think maybe, and he could suck today. I always preface it with that because it's baseball and this guy, you know, we don't have a huge sample on him, but I think it is kind of unfair to just be like, nah, he stinks. As a matter of fact, since returning from the IR or the IL, Imai hasn't been bad at all. He had what, 1 bad start since returning? And that was his first start back. If you remove that and you go over his last 6 starts, so like the 18th, let's see, if you go from the 18th of May, was it May? Yeah, the 18th of May. Let's just see what he's done since the 18th of May. All right. So since the 18th of May, he has a 3.45 xERA, a 3.43 xFIP. He has a 28% K rate. His walk rate is way down from what it was earlier. A 1.16 whip, fine. Kind of even been a little bit unlucky from a strand rate perspective. He hasn't been bad. Really haven't been bad. Yeah, look, Clayton, he always scares me because he's a 6K pitcher. Wicked Dingo. I always seem to play pitchers who have bad starts. It happens, but I'll be honest with you. If you've been watching the show lately and been running the heavy exposure to a lot of these cheap pitchers that we've been going to, and it can't last forever, but our hit rate on these guys has actually been shockingly high lately. Really high on a lot of these guys. So, you know, I'll stick with it. Here's what I would say. No one's going to argue this. Whether you love Tatsuya Imai today, whether you hate him, there's not a person out there that would argue that he's not too cheap. he's underpriced, objectively underpriced. And I can kind of reinforce this by, if you pull up his K prop today. First of all, the guy has a 5.5 K prop at $6,300. His outs prop's not going to be great. It's going to be like 14 or 15 and a half. 15 and a half. That's not terrible. And then earn run allowed prop, 2.5, I'm sure. Yeah, 2.5. But still, that's $6,300. That's not bad. And he's proven that he has upside as well. You have games out there. You have multiple 20-plus spots. You had a 30 spot last week. He dropped 30 early in the season where he went 5 2/3 scoreless with nine strikeouts. It's not the worst matchup. I think he looks all right. You look at Detroit's team total, 4.6, middle of the road. You've got 3 teams that are really low in team total today, and they're going up against Schlittler, Sanchez, 2 of the most dominant pitchers in the league, Gossman, who's still good. Aside from that, they're all kind of in the same ballpark, you know? Those 3 are outliers. These other guys are all kind of in the same ballpark. So, yeah, if he's 6,300, he's just going to end up in a lot of lineups. That's just the way it is. You want to negatively boost him, go for it. You want to cap his exposure, go for it. I probably won't, especially if he's really only going to be around 14% owned. He projects pretty well at that price point, 5.5 K prop. All that stuff is really all we're looking for, is it not? Yeah, it's kind of just all we're looking for. Dingo, I'm going to play him too. And look, I go into these with zero expectations. This is what I go in. I go in saying, am I making the right play? If Amai gets shelled today, I still think I'm making the right play. Do I think I made the right play last week when we talked about it on this show on Friday when he had 30 DraftKings points against Cleveland? Yeah, I thought I was making the right play. He could have finished with 3 and I still would have thought that because he has good strikeout stuff. Overall on the season, it's funny because he has a 6.15 ERA. So much of that is kind of misleading from earlier in the year and then a couple starts where he got blown up. But aside from that, he's been pretty damn good. So you take the good with the bad. Good morning, Plan B Smoothies. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, DraftKings, Malcolm said, set a trap with dropping Peralta down to 7,500. I still can't get there. Man, we had a luncheon celebration of life for my mom on Saturday. And then afterwards, some of my, friends and family came back to the house and we were watching the Phillies game, knocking back a few Blue Mountains, and we're watching this game and Peralta, my brother-in-law who follows baseball, but not, casual follower of baseball. He's like, isn't this their ace? And I said to him, I was like, I don't know if they even have an ace anymore. Like McLean got shelled again yesterday. He's been up and down. But Peralta on the year, this is a totally different version of Freddie Peralta that we've seen in the past, is it not? This isn't the same Freddie Peralta. There's just no doubt about it. He got absolutely carved up. Also, it's not like he was just allowing a bunch of weak contact and got unlucky, which is exactly what happened with Luzardo the other night on Tuesday night. Luzardo still had 13 strikeouts. He got BABIP to death in the 5th inning. That's all that was. But Freddie Peralta just was hanging stuff out over the plate, giving up hard contact, line drives. It was not good. He got destroyed. And now you look at him on the year and you go, 22% K rate, dude. That's down 7% almost from his career average. No, sorry, more than 7% from his career average. Over 6% from last season as well. Funny because his barrel rate's not up. So you want to say no, he's just been very unlucky. Yeah, he's been a little bit unlucky, probably. But his BABIP's 300. It's not I don't know. Something doesn't seem right about Freddie Peralta this year. It just doesn't. Swinging strike rate still looks okay. Can you get to him today? Yeah, I wouldn't not play him just because of last start. But I'm not in love with him either just because the strikeouts have been down this year. And it's not the best matchup against the Cubs either. So is he okay? Sure. Do we plan on, overloading to Freddie Peralta today? No. But you know what? At 7,500, I think he's still viable. similar to what we were saying with Amai. The Cubs have a 6.5 run total, our team total. He's getting 13% ownership. He's 7,500. He's not expensive. We're getting 15%. We're essentially with the field there. That makes sense. That makes sense. I think I'm running 3 uniques. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. I was going to say, I thought I was running 3 uniques. So then he's fine there. Gore is a guy that I probably get less of. Like, I would honestly rather get to Peralta over Gore today, I think, which is scary. I played a lot of Gore this season. I just hate the strikeout matchup. I really do. Toronto has such a low strikeout rate against lefties. Against anyone, for that matter. It feels difficult to get there. Yeah, Larry, he's on the Mets. That's all you need to say. That's what's not right. You might be right. Wow. Steven says Peralta's the second cheapest pitcher on FanDuel. Schlittler's more expensive than Sanchez there. I mean, he could be. He should be. Any Schlittler and Sanchez lineups, I'll look. Probably not a lot, considering we're only getting 8% Christopher Sanchez. But, yeah, the Phillies annihilated Peralta last time out. And sometimes it's just one bad start, right? That's all. It can be just one bad start. We've played a ton of guys coming off bad starts, and they've gone out there and been great. So I'm okay with him. Connolly Early's another one we're getting 17% of against the Yankees. There's an interesting spot, huh? Especially when you consider the fact that the Yankees only have a 4.4 run total today. It's not that high. It's not that high. Mets are 4-4 against Boyd. Toronto's 4-3 against Gore. We're even getting to a little bit of Cade Cavalli, which is a little bit surprising to me. Not going to lie there. I'm not in love with that spot. Not in love with 15% of him. But it's also a 6-game slate. 15% is really not all that much. So, you know, he has a 24% K rate. You know what's funny about this slate, though? And I'm sure some of you guys have identified this already. It's actually not a bad slate of pitching for 6 games. Top to bottom, Schlittler looks pretty good. I mean, actually, he looks fantastic. Sanchez, you can always play him even though we're not getting a ton of him. Gossman's $8,500. Gossman always sits in that price range because he can be so bad and then he can be so good. Just probably breaks the pricing algorithm. Like, there's days where he should be 11K and days where he should be free. Early's 8K. And that's a solid young pitcher right there. Good enough strikeout stuff. I mean, it really is funny how this slate lines up. Freddie Peralta, because he's cheap. Someone mentioned, I forget who it was in chat, that said they're trying to tempt us there. But he is 7,500. I mean, he is really inexpensive on a 6-gamer. Even though I don't like the matchup for Mackenzie Gore, 7,300 is cheap for a guy that has a high ceiling. Right? Like, Connolly Early has a 23% K rate. Mackenzie Gore on the season, despite the fact that he can get shelled, is still sitting at 26%. Like, all of these guys have pretty good K rates. And none of them outside of Schlittler and Sanchez are even expensive. I'm going to pull something up for you guys. This will actually be fun to look at here. So let's go here. All right. And then pull this up. So custom pitching reports. Let me see if I can just click these off real quick. Wait, what? All right. So we don't want to run Virginia. Boyd, Cagliano. Why is it doing this? I don't want that. All right. It should have just been. All right, whatever. This will be good enough. So go to advanced, go to strikeouts. Boyd, I mean, tough to say with Boyd. What is he? 72. He's only made 5 starts this year. How many pitches did he throw in rehab? Because he hasn't pitched since May 3rd. Anyway, Oh, he threw 59 pitches in his final start. Yeah, we probably stay away from that. But so look at this. 31%. Schlittler, 30% K rate. Sanchez, 29% K rate. Amai, 27. Mackenzie Gore, 26. Gossman, 24. Cavalli, 24%. Early, 23%. Peralta, 22%. All of those guys. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys on this slate, on a 6-game slate with like above average strikeout stuff. It's pretty wild. Zach Gallen, I mean, that guy just stinks, and we have no real reason to get there. He has a 14% strikeout rate on the season. Abysmal stuff. Melton's been decent, but his K rate's down there at 15%. That's another guy that you probably don't end up getting much of. But I'll tell you what, we got 2% of him. I'll tell you what, there are some good pitchers. Schlittler, Gossman, Sanchez, Amai, Early, Cavalli even. Peralta's because of the price point. Mackenzie Gore, if you wanted to get weird. But right now, I don't hate our exposures. I don't hate the idea of getting Schlittler, Gossman, and Amai as the big trio there, and then sprinkling in, 15+% of Early, Cade Cavalli, and Peralta. I'm okay with it. I do want to see, before we move to our stacks, I want to see what it looks like if we go with like 4 uniques here and how much this changes our exposures. We actually get the most of Gossman and Schlittler. We still get a lot of Amai. We get a little bit more. It doesn't really change much at all at pitching, as a matter of fact. So keep that in mind. Despite the fact that we were running 4 uniques, not much changes. Let's go back to 150 lineups. Check out our stacks. As always, guys, you want more. You want more. You want the tools. You go, man, I sit here and I grow envious. I look at the leaderboards and I'm not up there, and I see these avatars that read stochastic. And instead of letting the anger and the envy consume you, as they say, if you can't beat them, join them. No better time, man. 15% off anything with MLB Strategy. Link in the description. If you're watching on X, just go to stochastic.com. And what do? I'll tell you. You just use that. Use MLB Strategy, get 15% off. Core or max, weekly or monthly, and all access. Huge discount on all access. But that's all there is to it, man. And I got to tell you, it's been an incredible month. Just a ton of 50K wins, 100K wins. We had a 200K banger from Justin in PGA. It's been awesome. Well, let's keep it rolling heading into the weekend, heading into Friday and then the weekend. But that's how you do it. MLB Strategy will get you there. So let's go into the stacks and see what we're getting, because there's a lot of pitchers that look good. Yankees against Connolly Early. We are getting some of him, or some of them. As a matter of fact, we're getting north of 20%. We're getting Houston against Melton. We're getting Philly against Cavalli. We're getting some Toronto against Mackenzie Gore. All right. And by the way, that St. Louis game, that's the only one I saw that could have some weather concerns, so keep an eye out for that. Looking at it right now, looks like there's just potential for rain all night. I don't know if you get a delay or if it just plays fine, but just something worth watching for if you're playing any pitchers in that game, which I would think you aren't. I doubt you're getting the much Michael McGreevy or Zach Gallen, but, keep that in mind. Looking at the stacks, 25% Houston, 22% Yankees, 17% Philly, 15% Arizona. We are really spread out at stacks. 13% Toronto. No Boston against Schlittler. No Washington against Sanchez. Very little Texas against Kevin Gossman. Very little Detroit against Amai. That's interesting. Not a lot of St. Louis against Gallen. 8% Mets against Boyd. 9% Chicago against Peralta. But a lot of Houston and Yankees. Good amount of Philly, Arizona, Toronto as well. Individual bats. Let's go through the list here and see what we come up with. Roger, the tools work well even for a low budget guy like me. I tell people all the time, you don't have to be a high stakes player. Also, you can just, as I mentioned yesterday, there's another link down there that says get the Sims for free. You can literally just sign up with any of our sportsbook partners, follow these 4 steps, deposit $5 or $10, get big deposit bonuses on any of these books or pick'em sites or sweepstakes sites, and then just send us your screenshots of your first settled bet and welcome email and get the Sims for free for a month. And as many as you want, as many as you can sign up for, you get the Sims for free. There's so many ways if you're on a budget to use these tools and win with them and build your bankroll. That's the big thing. You get in and you build your bankroll. You think of that as an investment over everything else. So yeah, at the catcher position, we're getting Diaz at 21%, Francisco Alvarez 18%. Look, we're really spread out. Five catchers between 11 and 21%. You can see it here. If you have to pause the screen, go for it. First base, again, nobody above 17%. I'm not shocked because I just ran through it with you guys talking about how, oh yeah, well, look at that. You have all of these pitchers who actually look decent today that aren't terrible, and no super high totals either. Right? Laffy, did you ever adjust your stack type exposure to get more 5-3 and 5-2-5? What you're doing when you do that in the contest generator, what you're actually doing, make sure if you're doing it in the contest generator, make sure what you know what you're doing. That's increasing the amount that are going to be in the contest that you build, not the amount of exposure. Oftentimes that'll work the opposite way, and you'll get less of them if you're boosting the amount that you're getting or that's in the contest, because then it becomes, more of a chalky build. But if you're talking like adjusting the stack type exposures in the Sims, no, I don't, only because we bake all of that into these Sims, right? All of that historical data and stuff. When you say 5-man stacks have been proven more optimal, all of that's baked into the Sims, right? So I typically don't touch that. Now you get more of them if you want, but I usually don't. We're flat at catcher, flat at first base. Ketel Marte, we have 30% of. Altuve, 19. Bryson Stott, 13. Chisholm, 11%. Isaac Paredes, 19. Again, flat at third base. Rosario, Okamoto, Alec Boehm, all but 11 and 18%. Jeremy Pena, 27%. So a good amount of him. But we're flat outside of that. Even on a 6-gamer. Yordan Alvarez, a lot of Alvarez against Troy Melton. A lot of Springer against Gore. A lot of Corbin Carroll against Zach Gallen. Jace Dominguez, 21%. 20% Schwarber. All right. So that's where we're at. And if we look at our lineup, somebody asked earlier, I think it was Clayton, do we have any lineups that have both Sanchez and Schlittler? Let's see. No. Oh, hold on. One lineup. One Sanchez and Schlittler lineup. That's a Mets Rangers 5-2 with Alvarez, Mark Vientos, Marcus Semien, Josh Young, Francisco Lindor, Riley Green, Wyatt Langford, and Eric Wagner. All right, one lineup out of 150. But your top lineups, as you can see, Clayton, when you talk about 5-mans, that's a lot of 5-mans. 4 of the top 5 simulated ROI lineups are 5-man lineups. 5 of the top 7. 6 of the top 10. I like where we're set up right now. I like this. For sure. But yeah. So yeah, you can get unique with hitters over pitchers, and the Sims often do that. If there's a pitcher that just looks fantastic, a lot of times you're going to get unique with the bats. Or another thing that you'll notice though is you can get unique. Remember, on DraftKings you're playing 2 pitchers anyway. So you can still go very chalky on a bunch of guys, but then they're not paired as much together. You know what I mean? That's another way to do it. Gossman, am I? Schlittler, Tetsuya, am I? Cam Schlittler and Gossman, that's semi-chalky, but Schlittler and Freddie Peralta. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Cam Schlittler, Cade Cavalli. You still have a chalky arm in there. You still have a Yankees, Houston 4-3, which isn't going to be unpopular. But remember, I mean, it's hard to get duped in MLB. And if you look at the top stack probability today, Philly's up there, Houston's up there, Cubs are up there against Peralta. But when you look at value, Toronto's at 15%, Mets are up there, Houston's up there. Ownership, Houston and Philly are high. But still, stack score for Houston is number one. And if you look at our stack exposures, we still have a ton of Houston. Even though they're the highest owned stack, we're getting 2.5x the field on Houston. So you go, oh, they're chalky, but we're still getting a ton of them. You know what I mean? We're still well over the field. Appreciate you too, Kobe. Thanks for hanging out. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of the day. I'm going to go build these lineups for the early slate, and then we're going to sweat some main slate stuff. I do believe I will be able to play today since it's an early start and there's no late games. That's pretty sweet. Then we'll be back here Saturday. There should be a live before lock tonight. Stick around for that. And I will see you guys back here for the next one. Bye-bye.